Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order our March 17th County Board meeting. If you can, please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, I'm looking for an approval of our regular meeting agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hulls and a second by Commissioner Felber. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we will be having our open forum. Just wanted to give a few things on the open forum. The purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. So if you are here to speak to the solar issue that is on our agenda, that public hearing happened at the Planning Commission, and we've gotten all the comments that were presented at that time, so there will be no public comment on the solar issue at this time. And it is requested that the speakers refrain from personal attacks on any kind against another person, commissioner, or employee. It is requested that speakers refrain from campaign-type presentations. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker, with a minimum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. The open forum may be continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting and agenda items. It is requested that all input or information be addressed to the Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information. The county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed, and the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. That being said, is there anybody to speak at open forum on anything other than what is on our agenda? Second call for anybody to speak. Third and final call. All right, thank you. At this time, I'll close our open forum. Moving on to our consent agenda. We have a consent agenda before us. At this time, I'd be looking for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to pull number 15 for further discussion.
Number 15.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I would then be looking for a motion to approve everything on the consent agenda except for item number 15 that will be done for separate consideration.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hulls and a second by Commissioner Schumacher. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, item number 15, consider approval for a request for out-of-state travel for the DC fly-in by the county staff.
So this is about Two Inlets Park. And the Trust for Public Land, it's a Trust for Public Lands DC activities. But what I wanted to make sure that we do, because we've been working on this for as long as I've been on the board, I wanted to make sure that Primacy Strategy Group was looped in on this. I did talk to Emily out there. She does think it's a good idea, but I want to make sure that they see what's being presented on behalf of Sherburne County. And I think that the chair or vice chair should go, since they're going to be representing Sherburne County to our elected officials in Washington. I can see the vice chair doesn't think this is a great idea.
But the vice chair just got blindsided.
Well, we can't discuss a lot of this before the meeting, so here we are.
Very true.
I just think that, realistically, I think there'd be a positive, when I was thinking about this, I thought there may be it would be a good idea to go traditionally, the vice chair or the chair goes along in these special things. So I don't know how you feel about that, and obviously that we'd be spending more money to do it, so we need to talk about it at the meeting.
Yeah. Are you open, I mean, we can check our schedules, obviously, and are you open, like, if for some reason the chair and the vice chair, um, who's on the Parks Committee? And you're alternate, and Gary, you're
I just
primary?
go.
Okay.
And I'm on it.
Are you on it too?
Yeah.
So I think, would we be okay with someone from the board would be going?
Yeah,
Okay.
Minus me.
I mean, I don't really.
Greg, do you want to go to Washington?
No, I don't. That's, you know, but if that's the only thing we can do, then yeah, I would go, but I don't
If it comes
want,
down to that,
I don't
okay.
want to go. I'm kind of, quite frankly, I'm lobbied out at this point in the game
Okay.
after the last 2 weeks, but
So is everybody okay with?
it is a ways down the road.
Well,
In April.
so my suggestion would be, just from a discussion standpoint, is we go ahead and approve the travel as presented, and then we can discuss separately,
Okay.
you know, if one of us is able to attend.
Okay.
Dan, is there money in the travel budget for this?
We'll find it.
We'll find it.
Okay. All right, so.
And what are the
is that
dates?
that?
Can we, what are the dates?
April 14th and 15th, I think, 15, 16, 14, 15.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what day they're representing us.
Madam Chair, it looks like it's April 14th through the 16th.
Yep. Alrighty, thank you. Okay, so with that being said, then,
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
okay, motion by Commissioner Hulls,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Felber. Any further discussion?
Not me. Just want to make sure I'm busy on the 14th through the 16th of April.
This is just for the staff right now.
You good? Yep.
Okay. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And then we will talk about who could be going with as well. All right, next item on the agenda is our announcements. And we have our Administrator Messelt is joining us via the big screen. And are you ready for updates, Bruce?
Sure. It's really sunny, so I'll just keep the nice picture up versus the sunglasses. Appreciate the opportunity to call in remotely today. Just a couple quick announcements, and then Dan may have some additional ones. First of all, I think you all got updates over the weekend on the work of the road crews to clear the snow and keep the roads open. We just want to congratulate and thank our staff for a good job, but also please inform Dan or me if you see any roads that still need some additional attention as we try to wrap that up. Second of all, you'll see on the back of your agenda several upcoming meetings and also agenda items. We just want to note that we are planning at the next board meeting to return with further discussion on the shotgun zone. And we'll have several options for the board to consider at that time. We are still collecting information, and we'll put that together in a quick table for you on what the cities and the other counties are doing. With that, I'll defer to Dan if he wants to add any other quick announcements.
Thank you, Bruce. Madam Chair, just to add reminder that the next meeting is in the evening. So it's a 6 p.m. meeting in April. So that's one of our 3 evening meetings.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you for those updates. With that being said, we'll move on to our regular agenda. Item number 5.1, we are going to receive an update on the Great River Regional Library from Brandy Cantor. Welcome, Brandy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioners. I am here today with Hillary, who is one of our library services coordinators. So I'm going to talk the boring data stuff about the regional picture, and then Hillary is going to come in and wow you with some of the cool things that are happening locally. Again, my name is Brandy Cantor. I'm the new Executive Director for Great River Regional Library. I've actually been with the library for 25 years. I started also as a library services coordinator in Royalton, was there for about 8.5 years before I moved to a regional supervisor position. And at what time I was the regional supervisor for the Sherburne County Libraries. So the libraries we have here are very near and dear to my heart as well. Just started as executive director in October. So this is my first time to come to these meetings, and I look forward to doing more of this and joining y'all. So yeah, we're Great River Regional Library. We are a public library. We have 32 libraries within a 6-county region, and we do a lot of fun stuff. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So just quick overviews, our core values, and that remain the same for exceptional service, forward thinking, and community focus, but we do have a new 2026 to 2030 strategic plan. And so just wanted to let you know a couple things about that, because that will impact the kinds of work that you see done in your libraries here. Our first strategic direction is to support learning, and one of the big things that we're doing with that is really looking at our core literacy services and trying to make those as good as possible. And then also assisting patrons with basic technology and AI understanding. There's a lot of people who are very scared of AI right now, and we want to try to be a leader in helping people understand effective and useful ways to use it. The next strategic direction is sharing our story. So doing things like this, getting out there, talking to folks, that's a big part of it. Also developing multiple ways for patrons to learn about everything we have in our collection. We have a lot more than books and movies. We have snowshoes. Not that we're gonna need them, but we have snowshoes. We have ukuleles. We have kits to help high school students explore careers. We have all kinds of things at the library. And so just wanting to make sure people know that a little bit better. Welcoming all, we want to make it easier for everybody to use the library, to get a library card, to get to us, to understand all the things we have. And finally, to grow partnerships, because we want to keep knuckling down on that aspect. We know that if we ask the public, what do you want at the library, we are going to get every answer you could possibly imagine. And there is no way that we alone can provide all that. So one of our real goals is to create strong partnerships with organizations that have complementary goals so that we can be more effective in serving our whole public. 2025 was a very successful year. You can see some stats up here on the top. We had almost 100,000 card holders, over 1 million visitors, over 18,000, almost 19,000 new library cards were made. So we really did a lot of things, checked out almost 2.3 million items. So we're really excited. Within Sherburne County, just a couple key points. Big Lake circulation was up 5.9%. That is amazing. That's the number of items that are checked out. Elk River completed a successful project to replace flooring and shelving. Becker had increased the number of patrons. And the St. Cloud study rooms, the study room use grew to the point that we needed to use bequest funds, and we just put in a purchase order for 4 new study room pods because there's so many people using those. So lots of good things are happening in Sherburne County. A little bit on statistics. Our total circulation, again, that's the number of items that were checked out, was 2.28 million items, 98,000 borrowers, 18,000 new borrowers. You'll see below that the digital library number. That is for those top 2 rows are for the whole region, not just Sherburne County. What is really interesting right now is the number of folks who are new borrowers who use both the digital library and the physical library is increasing. 5 years ago, it was about 10%. Now it's up to like 30%. So we're seeing a real increase in that overlap with those two. And then you'll also see the statistics for St. Cloud, Elk River, Big Lake, and Becker. Elk River is still our second largest after the digital library and St. Cloud. And then you'll see the digital library exceeded even the St. Cloud library in total circulation. So that is a growing thing. Whoops. Sorry, I pushed too many times. And finally, some kind of general regional highlights, and Hillary again is going to talk more specifically about Sherburne County. and the libraries that she supervises. But we set records for the Summer Reading Challenge. That is our program that goes on in the summer to help ensure that kids keep reading over the summer, to stop the slide of some kids losing reading ability over the summer when they're not in school. The Summer Reading Challenge is a way to try to keep that going and help kids start off the new school year in good stead. We also had great participation in our winter reading program. We expanded with the state of Minnesota. We collaborated to expand the state park library program, and we held our first ever teen sticker design contest, which was a huge success. So lots of fun, educational, good things happening at the library. And with that, I'm going to step aside and let Hillary chat.
Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share how Great River Regional Libraries impact the citizens of Sherburne County. My name is Hillary Dawson, and I am the Library Services Coordinator for Becker and Big Lake. As you can see from the circulation and borrower statistics, both branches are medium-sized libraries and serve neighboring communities. As I talk about the libraries, I may not distinguish between the two. If you have questions about a specific branch, please feel free to ask. What comes to mind when you hear the word library? Most people would say books, stacks and rows and shelves of books. This is no surprise. After all, the dictionary definition of library is a building or room containing collections of books, periodicals, and online resources for people to read, borrow, and refer to. I invite you to think of a library as a place of stories, wonder, connection, and inspiration. Those stacks and rows and shelves of books provide an opportunity for entertainment and escapism. By immersing oneself into different worlds and stories, one can relax and escape from daily life and routine. Literature can foster empathy as the reader discovers different cultures, characters, viewpoints, and emotions. Reading inspires us to learn new skills, explore diverse topics, and understand the world better. Vocabulary is enhanced, articulation improved, and communication skills strengthened through exposure to different writing styles. Although we are not always aware of these benefits, we are aware of being fascinated by circumstances overcome, feeling connected to characters, and often inspired to be better when we engage with a story. This is true for all ages, from our youngest patrons who will mimic the characters in their favorite stories to our oldest patrons who will openly share how a story moved them. I could easily leave the library's stories there, in stacks and rows, on the shelves. But the library has more to tell. The library as a place of wonder. This aspect of the library cannot be measured by statistics. It must be shared in story form. Sometimes it's as simple as a young child excited about axolotls, setting up camp on the floor in our juvenile nonfiction section, devouring everything reptile and amphibious on our shelves. It's not uncommon for them to be overheard sharing the information they have learned with parents, siblings, and library staff. The joy and excitement of discovering something new is wonderful and infectious. Even certain unnamed librarians are surprised by the realization that they want to learn about reptiles when face to face with a National Geographic quality photo of a colorful lizard. Adults and children alike are amazed at some of the resources that we have. Novelist is one of those resources. When you don't know what to read next, Novelist can help you find your next favorite read. Based on book preferences, Novelist can connect readers to similar titles or authors, book lists, and genre guides. Library programming can also provide a sense of wonder by giving patrons opportunities to explore and engage. A couple of examples are on the slide. All-season forts gave kids and their caregivers an opportunity to explore, create, and play in a fun community environment. The Frank Weber author visit was a fascinating evening for adults to get a glimpse of forensic psychology at work and at the writing process. The library as a place of connection can be both formal and informal. The library is intentionally connecting patrons to resources through programming, class and community organization visits, and outreach. Central Minnesota Mental Health Center connected with families in our community through the story time about friendship hosted by the library. You can see that on the slide on the bottom left. Becker School's art show is hosted annually by the Becker Library. This is a wonderful opportunity for students to display their artwork for the public. The teachers have an open house to kick off the 2-week display. These are just two of the examples of connections made through our programming. We also visit schools and community organizations. A monthly story time is done with the preschoolers at Liberty Elementary. Big Lake Library is the community partner for 2 4th-grade classes at Independence Elementary. And the library brings an activity to the Wave Youth Center periodically throughout the year. So we are actually out in the community bringing the library to them. Outreach is another way that we are formally connecting to our community. Some of the events we have attended are Literacy Night, ECFE in the Park, Community Ed Kickoff, STEM Night, Family Fun Fest, Touch a Truck, Rise and Read, Community Connect, and the Sherburne County Family Health Celebration. These are so important, not only to let people know that we are here, but to let them know about the resources that we offer to them for free. Informal connections are also taking place at our Sherburne County libraries. We see our space being used for tutoring and students gathering to hang out or do homework together, like the 2 middle school students who recently put their History Day display board together at the library. Caregivers meet, interact, and grow friendships through attending children's programming. Homeschool families and students use our space to hang out, play games, and browse our shelves while moms encourage each other and visit with one another. We have also seen the library used as a safe public meeting space for family visitation or just to wait for a ride. Study rooms are being used for online legal meetings or job interviews, sometimes using laptops that are available through our library. These are just a few examples of how the library has become a trusted community space that meets the needs of Sherburne County residents. The library as inspiration. The last photo on the slide is of our tiny art show. This is a program in which patrons are given the materials to create a tiny masterpiece and invited to display them at our library. We offer programs about arts and crafts, gardening, animal keeping, music, history, and culture, among others. Patrons often leave these programs interested, educated, and inspired to try something new. Even book club can inspire us to read outside of our normal genre. You can go anywhere and be anything. That's the kind of inspiration that can be found at the library through resources like programming. The library is so much more than the stacks and rows of books on a shelf. It's also a place of wonder, connection, and inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. That's much appreciated on your guys' updates, and I strongly support libraries. They are an amazing asset to every community that is fortunate enough to have one.
Yes.
Any questions for?
No, just happy to see you again, and we'll be seeing you later this evening.
Yes.
And happy to be part of the board for the Great River Regional Library System.
Yes, we are very happy to have you, Commissioner Felber.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. all of
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new role.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, next item on our agenda is item number 5.2. We will be considering the approval of a preliminary and final simple plat of Wagon Trail Woods. Lynn,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
So this is a 3-lot plat. This is in Palmer Township. It's in the agricultural district, and it's in an unclassified shoreland district. Planning Commission recommended approval at their March 17th meeting with the 4 conditions listed in your packet.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for Lynn? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the Wagon Trail Woods consisting of 3 lots with the 4 conditions as recommended by the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Felber and second by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Lynn. All right, next item on the agenda is the item number 5.3. Consider an interim use permit for the solar farm. And at this time then, Lynn, I'd be looking to ask you to summarize the project application, staff recommendations, and the Planning Commission recommendation.
Okay, so this solar farm is located in Big Lake Township. on 38 acres in the General Rural District. The property is owned by Minnesota Municipal Power Agency. They are proposing to put a 3.5 megawatt solar farm on the property. The property, as I stated, is 38 acres, and they're asking to utilize 30 acres of it. Initially, the original plan they submitted to us had to be altered due to wetlands on the property, so that's part of the reason why it is 30 acres instead of 38 that they're utilizing. They're requesting a 40-year interim use permit. There was a wetland delineation done on this property that was approved in October of 2025. There's 8 wetlands on the property, and they applied for both a de minimis and a no wetland loss, or excuse me, a known loss wetland permit, and that was approved in February of 2026. They're going to use their entire de minimis, and what that is through the Wetland Conservation Act. Depending on the different types of wetlands, you can fill, excavate, or drain up to a certain amount under state rules. And so they're using their entire de minimis that they are allowed to use for that property. And that was approved by the TEP, and the county approved that. The TEP panel is the Technical Evaluation Panel, which consists of a number of different state agencies and local agencies, which includes Planning and Zoning, the Minnesota, the DNR, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Board of Soil and Water Resources, and the Soil and Water Conservation District of Sherburne County. So those people sit on that technical evaluation panel, and they determined that the wetlands, that they could implement both the de minimis and the no loss for their proposed project. Furthermore, they're going to plant, they did ask for a variance to plant trees not around the entire facility as required in the ordinance. That went before the Board of Adjustment, and that was denied. So their proposal now is to plant 1 row of 6-foot-tall eastern red cedar trees, no more than 6 feet apart around the entire circumference of the property. On the portions of the property where there are wetlands, they're going to be planting northern white cedars as well as a variety of deciduous shrubs, which are trees that are better suited around wetland areas. And they're also proposing to put in a non-electric farm field style fence. Oftentimes, the fences that you see that are proposed are the cyclone type fences that are around the properties. This one's a farm field type fence. I believe it'll have wooden posts, and it utilizes a woven type of mesh so that some animals are able to pass through it a little bit better. And finally, the property is located on County Road 94, which is the same thing as 209th Avenue, and they did receive access approval from the County Highway Department, and they're not concerned with where the access is proposed. So that, I believe, is a summary for you of what is proposed. The Planning Commission recommended that the land use map, denial of the comprehensive land use map for the solar farm, and the Planning Commission recommended denial of the interim use permit for the solar farm with the 5 findings that you have listed in your packet. Staff, when we reviewed it, it did meet all the requirements of the ordinance. It did meet all the wetland requirements. And so what was given to Planning Commission had recommendations of approval, which included items 1 through 20. And in addition to that, we would need to have, if you chose to approve it, we would have to have discussion about how much the county would want to charge per megawatt for decommissioning. The county board has had discussions in the past as to whether or not they wanted to raise that or keep that where it was at, so that could be discussed as well.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm also going to ask Dan to review the additional information that has been received since the Planning Commission meeting.
We have received 2 additional letters. One was from Elk River Municipal Utilities that was included in your packet. And then we had a second from Minnesota Municipal Power Agency. The attorney representing also included a letter. They were both in your packets, but I do have additional copies, so I'll pass those on in case somebody wanted to see them.
Okay. And then also, I'm going to ask our Don and Bruce and Dan, can you please review our board options at the moment?
I can tackle that one first, and Don and Bruce can correct me.
Okay.
As I see it, there are three options today. It's to deny based on the Planning Commission recommendation. You could approve as per the staff recommendations that were included in the packet, or you could table by extending the 60-day rule, which would determine additional time is necessary for county board consideration based on incomplete information, question issues requiring additional research, or needed preparation of stronger and more complete reasons for denial or approval.
Okay, thank you for those options. So at this time, then, I'm going to ask the commissioners if they all had an opportunity to review the record, looked over and considered the subsequent information received, and/or have had any emails, correspondence, or conversations which should be shared or declared, especially if any new information was shared not already included in the record compiled to date. Gary, I'll start with you. No,
None.
no. Andrew?
None.
None? I did have a phone call from a gentleman that I know also testified, Jason Anderson, who also testified at the Planning Commission meeting, and he was just basically reiterating his concerns in regards to that. So there was no new information with that conversation.
I didn't have any additional conversations, but I did read through all the materials without any problem.
Yeah. Brad?
I received the packet and then no communication with anybody in the public. And then the two letters that just came through,
Okay.
that was my first time seeing them, actually.
All right. So with some of the conversation in regards, I'm going to be asking for a motion before we start any discussion. Being as I think there has been some new information received that I think would require some further investigation by staff before we make a decision. Don, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Madam Chair, I was just going to indicate, typically speaking, if the motion would be to table, that is typically something that is approved and seconded without additional discussion, like a different motion. So I just wanted to distinguish that from other motions. So if in fact you want to engage in some greater conversation or discussion, I would just note that in terms of the difference of that type of motion versus other motions. Thank you.
Maybe we should see what the appetite is for the table idea and then work from there.
Madam Chair, if
Yes.
I may. Yeah, I mean, this is a request to, once again, to change our rules in order to allow a business in a residential area. And I don't really feel that we've got all the information we need to make that decision at this point in time. You know, so I would be in favor of tabling it.
Would you be open to making that motion?
I would absolutely make a motion to table this for another 60 days for additional staff research.
60 days.
Yeah, if you make that motion, that limits us from having any other discussion.
At this
So
time?
I would ask that you
I'll withdraw my motion.
withdraw your motion so that we can continue the conversation.
All right. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, so my concern is for either approval or denial. I would need some clarification from staff on the legalities of the reasoning behind recommendations for approval or denial. As you well know, there are certain things that we can legally approve or deny for, and there are certain things that don't rise to that occasion. So I would ask that we'd have some clarification on that. In addition, on the conversation with the public comment period, there was some questions around access and creating a landlocked piece of property. I would like also clarification on that issue, if we would end up tabling this, so that we can be clear that no property ends up being left an island.
Comments? Commissioner
Don's
Gray?
gonna go.
Oh, Madam Chair, so to that end, as Commissioner Hulse has indicated, some specific concerns or items requesting further information, I wondered if perhaps Commissioner Felber had similar specific requests or direction to staff or points of discussion that would be inquired by you in completing and having more additional information.
A lot of it, actually. Yeah, I mean, we need to take another look at how the issues that were brought up by the planning commission include the wetlands, and whether or not the effect on the environment. Also, property valuations. I mean, there was a very rough estimate that this might, or more of an opinion offered that this would devalue the properties. I'd like to get more concrete information on that. Because that's really the important thing we're doing here is if we're going to be asked to alter all of our rules to allow a business to go into a residential area, we need to make sure that it's not really going to adversely affect the other people in the neighborhood. Those are important considerations. I mean, we have to protect the people who live here. The ever popular, your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose type of concept.
Love that saying. Mr. Schumacher?
Yeah, I was going to reach out to the TUC chairman for the city of Elk River, who happens to be the mayor, because we're using his power as we speak right here today. I just wanted to learn more about it as we continue forward per the letter that he sent us in support of how he's going to keep the lights on in this building and his plan before he leaves office.
All right, thank you for those comments. I'm just going to summarize at this time what I'm hearing then. The clarification of the wetlands concerns and the evaluation of the neighborhood concerns regarding impacts to property values and the concern with property access and not creating a parcel of property that would be landlocked, and also clarification on the legality of approving or denying. Is there anything else that I'm hearing that we would be wanting more information from staff on?
I'll agree with all of that, but as everyone knows, I'm kind of a proponent of solar. I've never been opposed to it at all. And I have to commend US Solar for their application. I think it was very complete, and for the last 16 years, I think I've been looking at different solar applications. The thing I'm disappointed about here is this piece of property was purchased for the sole use for solar without looking into whether it could even be permitted for solar. So I'm very disappointed in municipal power for purchasing something, and then on top of it, they purchased it for 3 times the appraised value of it, which to me is, I'm not sure why. That it was like they're holding us hostage for that we purchased it already, we want our solar farm. I agree with that, that we need to, solar's not a problem, but it's in a rural residential area. Dawn, I wish you would elaborate on, we in statute can't use the neighbor's opinion in regards to this based off of our decision?
So Commissioner, just as you would evaluate any issue before you and acting in a quasi-judicial role, you have the right and responsibility to review all the information provided to you that forms the record. That includes individuals who speak at any public hearing or provide information. You can choose to evaluate that, give it the weight and credibility that you deem is appropriate in making a decision as information before you. In doing that, that includes evaluation of the basis for which someone provides information, what they are relying on in providing it to you. As a very blanket statement, typically it is disfavored to say opposition is the reason to deny. But within that, as the board would have to do in any circumstances, look at really the specifics of opposition. What is the information being brought to you by individuals? What are they basing that on? And as I said, evaluate the weight and credibility of it. So that's why it's difficult for me to advise you that there is just a complete absolute there. But yes, that concern is with that opposition, what is it that you're evaluating? If it's a general opposition, or is it stated and supported by information you think is appropriate to draw on in making findings that would be consistent with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is that there was enough issues above and beyond just the neighborhood opposition. They actually pointed to real things to look into farther. So I think that's what our summarization is in our, what we're gonna ask staff to further research on, which would then support the reasoning for tabling this item on our agenda. And when you did reference back in 2022, when the land was bought, at that time, the assessment value was $92,800. Purchase price at that time was $621,920. So a little greater than 3.
Madam Chair, if I may clarify one other point as well, just procedurally, should the board entertain a motion to table, the understanding with this as well, and knowing that the board's articulated some information they have directed staff to look into, the idea would be that this would be brought back then for a public hearing. And so to clarify that should the board's intent be to table this, it's not only for purpose of gaining that additional information from staff, but it also would be subject then once again to a public hearing, which would require public hearing notice and those things too. So
Would that be before the planning commission or before this board?
it would be before this board.
Okay.
Okay.
Would it be brought back to planning commission after staff comes up with findings? No? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, I think
Madam-
Administrator Messelt has his hand up as well.
All right, sorry. Yes, Administrator Messel.
Just to note that in the motion to table, if you could also include direction to staff to notify the applicant pursuant to the statutes. We are allowed to extend the 60-day rule unilaterally, but we still have to do the notification requirement to them that we're doing so.
All right.
And that extension would be made by staff also in writing to the applicant to make sure that that's preserved.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
currently the 60-day rule expires on April 3rd, according to our records. And so if we extended additional 60 days, that puts us to about June 2nd. So it would need to come back before this board prior to June 2nd, just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that update.
Mhm.
All right, at this time, what is the board's wishes?
Can I do it now? Yes. Okay, so make a motion to table this for the additional 60 days with directing staff to do the appropriate notifications and making sure that we get it back on the agenda with the appropriate public hearing prior to June 2nd, 2026.
And are
Covered everything?
you okay with adding the, asking staff to clarification of wetland concerns?
Yeah, clarification of all the previously
You-
mentioned
Okay,
issues, yes.
is that
Yes,
good
ma'am.
enough, Don?
And so as I understand that, that is wetland information, the evaluation of the neighborhood issues and property values,
Values, yes.
property access, and then the grounds for, or I think as it's been expressed, legality of approval or denial, and those bases.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, okay. Ready for your second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, there's no further discussion on a table action, so this item will be tabled and brought back to us at a future date.
With a vote.
Did we vote?
We have to
Pardon?
Vote.
Okay,
You have to vote.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, everybody. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is, give me a second to flip my page. We are going to be considering the amendment to the Sherburne County Comprehensive Plan land use. And I'm assuming that we're going to be tabling this item as well?
Madam Chair, if the board feels that for all the reasons stated in the previous item, there is a need to get further clarification and information to make a more robust decision, whatever that decision might be on this issue as well, then the suggestion would be to similarly extend the 60-day rule, which staff would do in writing. We'd have a public hearing to address any further matter or the record, should you choose to table and not wish to either approve or deny today.
Wishes of the board.
It would be my opinion that based on the previous action, it would be appropriate to also table this item. If
Okay.
unless there's any other discussion,
No,
You making that a form of
then I'll
motion?
make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hulls and a second by Commissioner Felber.
And to clarify, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, to clarify, is it also with request to clarify and provide information on the same issues as in the prior motion?
Yes.
Good. Friendly second?
Yep.
Good, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is to receive and review and accept the Auditor Treasurer's monthly report for February 2026.
Good morning, Commissioners.
One second, Lorraine. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and we will see you at the public hearing. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Lorraine, sorry.
That's all right. Good morning, Commissioners. Enclosed in your packet was the February preliminary trial balance prepared by Accounting Manager Sherlyn Kastner. The report includes, do you want to go to the next one, please? The report includes ARPA funds of $807,030.10, which we are spending down, and the Recorder's Compliance unallocated account of $339,816 in the general fund. The next 3 pages are the investment reports that are prepared by Finance Officer Brenda Davis. The investment earnings are above the targeted budget. Sorry, my voice is in and out, as you can hear. The targeted budget amount by $135,329.92 at month end. Interest earnings year to date total $535,329.92 compared to $571,168.72 last year. We're behind last year by $35,838.80 from the previous year. This is just due to timing of investments and their payments coming in. The budget to actual report is page 6, and that is the report by function. This is a modified accrual report, so the investment earnings include the entry for unrealized gains on investments. We are working with this report for the auditors and continue to put in our audit entries that will affect this report during the year. 2025 property taxes, the tax file and valuation notice was sent to the vendor for processing. They actually were mailed out, statements were mailed out March 9th. I did notify you of that. Tax payments have actually started coming in quite heavily yesterday. They're coming in at the counter, online, and by mail. So they are hitting their mark. They're getting out there. People are turning around and making their payments quite quickly.
Lorraine, quick question, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Have you had any comments in regards to the extra information that we sent out with the property tax statement?
We have. It has not been real well accepted.
Okay,
The comment that I received personally was that they weren't understanding the market value versus taxable market value and the differences there in the statement, and saying that we were representing things low. We expect that when we send out some new information every time. I'm able to talk them through exactly where we get our numbers, why we have the numbers that we have, and explaining to them that at the time we put that together, we did only have estimated numbers. We didn't have the actuals. So we're able to walk that through and then they understand. Generally, we don't get a lot of comment. That's good.
yeah,
We usually just get, those that really question.
okay. I was just curious because I'd like to continue doing it and maybe find out with the comments, do we need to include a little more education, like the market value exclusion, which is a state program that has a formula that you have to follow in
Yes.
regards to that, so.
And keep in mind that these statements just hit the mailboxes, so, as people come at the counter, as people call in and do things, they're gonna tell us both ways. We have had, you know, a few people say that they saw it, they were glad that there was some information in there.
Okay,
You know, as we go forward, we'll compile those.
all right.
Madam Chairman,
Whoops.
and I want to just let the board know, and then also you, Lorraine, that, you know, at the annual meeting in Livonia, I brought this up, the pamphlet, and asked for any feedback from the electeds. And then last night at the Zimmerman City Council meeting, I also brought it up, and for feedback. You know, we're looking for feedback, how we can improve this, how we can do this as a team, and how we can get that information delivered to a township versus a city, and then share that. So I am out there actively trying to get feedback and promote it. And so there wasn't, they said from my 2 experiences so far, and then tomorrow I'll be with the county attorney in Baldwin to share the exact same thing, is the feedback's been good. It's been well received, and, you know, they'll look at it and see about feedback for something improved for the next year coming forward. So I just want to make sure you guys know that. And
Commissioner Halls and then Dan.
Could you just touch base on the dates that are important to homeowners on when they receive their valuations, what their opportunity is to come in and formally request a reevaluation on the property values if they feel there's a mistake? What are those dates throughout the year?
They are actually on the valuation notice, and those are assessor's dates, so I am not going to try to give you those dates off the top of my head, because those are not ones that I actually work with. But we will, you know, absolutely get those to you.
Dan might know.
To answer your question, those meetings are held in April. Each individual municipality has their own meeting, so it's varied dates, and we do have them on the website, and as Lorraine mentioned, they are on the notice as well. One thing I want to ask the board is we included this with the actual property tax statements. A lot of counties send it with the TNT, so that's just a decision that the board will have to make of what the timing of when we send this insert out. So we don't have to make that today, but it's something we could talk about during the budget.
And then also, I think our final meeting to address the property tax statement is in June, when it comes to us as a whole, for any adjustment.
That's the valuation, the County Board of Appeal and
Okay, so we don't have one.
No, the proposed taxes will be passed in September, so that'd be the first time where you talk about the budget itself.
Which is what the valuation notices were put into the property tax statement
Correct,
as well.
correct, yeah.
Does that help?
Well, I just think it would help in, and maybe it'd be around the time of TNT. I don't think we emphasize, and I get questions on what is the procedure. And I know it goes out with the inserts and those things, but I think it would be helpful to have at TNT a slide on the relative dates and the process, so that so it's readily available for people to understand what the process is. When do they first see their potential evaluation of their home? What opportunities did they have to ask questions on that? What's the procedure? Because I believe you have to go through the cities first and then to the county, right? And so people just don't understand that process. So I think it'd be helpful to have a slide specifically in the TNT on that process.
Yeah, sometimes we get in our bubble that we know, but we don't understand that there's a lot of other people that don't understand. So education is always a good thing. All right, was there anything else, Dan, that you wanted to mention? You were good on that? Okay. Sorry, Lorraine.
That's all right.
Okay, continue.
And, you know, the individual that did talk to me, I did actually thank them for actually reading it, because a lot of times it's just a toss. So, and he did read it quite thoroughly, and that was really the only piece that he had a question on, and I could talk him through, and I worked with Dan on that to make sure that we were all on the same page. We were within $1 of the amount that he thought he should. Our amount was within $1 of what the actual was for his property.
Okay, that's good.
He did understand that, so
Yep, perfect.
we're on our mark there. The other item that is in your report is the 2025 gravel tax report. This is a one-page annual report. For your information, we currently have a fund balance of $1,522,206.92 in the gravel tax fund. These funds are to be used for restoration of abandoned pits, quarries, and deposits located within the county. If there are not abandoned pits, quarries, or deposits located within the county, this portion of tax shall be used for another unmet reclamation needed for conservation or other environmental needs per Minnesota Statute 298.75.
And do we have any abandoned gravel mines in the county?
We do not at this time.
So they're all active?
Mhm.
Okay.
So a big hole in my yard wouldn't count.
That really doesn't.
Good try, though.
You might want to get that filled.
All right.
Financial reports and audits, County Manager Sherlyn Kapsner, our Finance Officer Brenda Davis, and others in our office, including sheriffs and Public Works, continue to work on gathering the information and preparing the financial reports for the audit. The audit team from Clifton Larson Allen will be back for a couple of weeks in April to do the additional information on the 2025 audit. They are working remotely as we get them the information that they need, so that's a continuing process. The other item I have for you is, of course, township elections were March 10th and completed, as they should. At the election, 3 of the 6 townships did approve moving their election dates to November. So we will only have 3 remaining that will be March elections in the future, and that's Becker Township, Palmer, and Santiago Townships.
They're still going to be in
In their own-
March.
Yeah.
They will continue to be in March, Becker, Palmer, and Santiago.
Are you aware of any discussion on those particular townships in regards to possibly aligning with the general elections in the future?
They have not notified us of anything of that nature. So at this election, Blue Hill, Clear Lake, and Livonia did approve moving forward. Clear Lake will have their first election actually this year. They will have a supervisor on the board, or on the election in November. The other 2 will start in 2028.
Yeah. And it is my understanding that it would be a cost savings if
It will be a significant savings to the township, yes,
Okay.
to be able to share the election costs with all the other entities is a significant savings, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
That is all I have for you.
All right, questions for Lorraine?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The top 25 taxpayers, are you going to send out that report coming up for 2020?
We will as soon as we are able to prepare that. Right now, our focus is on getting the state what they need for our property tax through their PRISM reports and the required reports there, and then we'll move on to getting you the top 25s by each district.
And then one last question, the 7 Princeton school districts going back for another referendum in May, one more
They are,
time. Are we
yes.
going to, is the plan to do it like the last time when they just ran it? All jurisdictions within Baldwin, all jurisdictions within Princeton, so they have 2,
Izanti County is running it.
okay.
So they are, they have access to our information. They will be handling that. It is a May 12th election. Actually, absentee balloting will start for that on March 27th. So we are already getting applications for those absentee ballots. And that will also all be processed through the school district and that county, the home county.
All right. Any other questions for Lorraine? Thank you very much for the report. Appreciate it. It's always really thorough and informative.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
We need to make a motion to
Oh, yeah.
accept.
Yep.
So I'd make such a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hulls and a second by Commissioner Schumacher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorraine.
All right, at this time then, we have item number 5.6. We're going to be doing an update on discussion of state and federal legislative activities and county legislative priorities. Administrator Messelt, you're on my list for being this report.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. We'll start at the federal level. You briefly discussed one of the issues, so we are applying again through the congressionally directed spending applications for the two projects. Actually, we're going to do all three again that we have in the past. So one is funding for County Road 10 and 11. The second is for finishing up the improvements to Two Inlets Park. And the third is to seek funding for some of the renovations of the county jail. So those applications will be processed at the federal level. And as you noted, we are fortunate that we'll have an opportunity with another agency to actually speak a little bit about Two Inlets Park this spring. At the state level, just if so everybody is aware, we have submitted a request to hold a local sales tax ballot initiative for the fall for jail renovations and updates. We have authors in the Senate as well as an author in the House. We anticipate that we will get hearings in both bodies, which is great news. And I think, though, the realistic perspective is to know that there are several cities and counties that are requesting local sales taxes. Typically, they'll get lumped together and they'll either move together as a group or not. Hopefully, that'll be the case for us. But we still are in a little bit of an uphill climb because we didn't meet that first statutory deadline. So ours is actually requesting a waiver to be included this year. We are also seeking bond funds for both our Two Inlets Park and our overpass project. And so that will be part of what we're doing directly with our leads at the legislative efforts. And then finally, we are helping focus some of the discussions that are going on about prohibiting federal contracts for law enforcement. We did testify once already, and it's more than likely we'll be asked to testify again. At this time, I'll contact the boards as it may come up very quickly to see if a commissioner wants to testify. If not, we'll defer to the sheriff or me to go down and testify. And our message is very specific to Sherburne County. And so that if there's state discussion of 287G agreements, at this time, that would not impact us. But if they ban all federal agreements, as you know, would have a very significant impact on the operations of the jail as well as the county. And then last but not least, we are also tracking some bills of interest to us. One is to promote data center in certain communities and working with Representative Meekland on that. And then the second one is to watch what's happening with the potential for lifting the moratorium on nuclear energy production. With that, I'll stand for any questions you may have on state or federal legislative activities.
Any questions for Bruce?
What's the bill number for the data center bill?
I will check. I don't know if it's out of the revisers yet.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'll check on that and get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Bruce, there's no other questions on your update. All right, at this time then, I'm looking to recess our regular meeting and open our Community Health Board meeting. And I'd be looking for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Felber, a second by Commissioner Schumacher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. First item on the regular agenda is to consider approval of the official minutes from the January 20th, 2026 regular meeting of the Community Health Board.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hulls and seconded by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, we're going to receive the Community Health Services Administrator's bi-monthly update. Amanda.
Or
Good
the
morning.
CHS Administrator designee. So,
Okay.
good morning. Nicole is sunny and somewhere sunny and warm right now, so you get me.
Oh, nice.
So I have a short administrator's update, and then I'm going to turn it over to kind of a program spotlight where our First Steps group is going to talk about family home visiting. I only have one slide, Brian, and that's because tobacco ordinance and education have gone out So the new ordinance requirements, you'll know, begin July 1st of this year. Retailers did receive information. Our letters went out to retailers in February, and we are following up personally with additional guidance and resources. And so those who have made contact with Alicia Maxwell have received visits, resources, updates, and so I just want to let you know that retailers have received an implementation guide, targeted postcards, and then again, outreach and on-site support. So we're very much walking hand in hand with those retailers who have reached out to us. So, any questions? I'm not going to promise I can answer them, but do you have any questions on that?
Any questions for Amanda? No, thank you.
If not, I'm going to turn it over to Leah, Kelly, and Tammy, and they're going to talk about our First Steps program. And who is it? Commissioner Gray is on our First Steps board. Is there
Yep.
somebody else? Commissioner, are you Commissioner Daniels?
I think I'm the alternate.
And
I
you
think.
turned it over to these three, but Tammy's back there shaking her head. No, I'm not going.
Their
up."
work. And where did our slides go? I'm sorry.
Brian has them.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go to slide.
We have to keep moving Bruce around.
Yes, yeah. Will this click? Okay, sounds good, thank you. Good
That's right,
morning.
understood.
Good morning. So my name is Kelly Ball, and I am the Regional Program Manager for First Steps Central Minnesota. I've been a staff here at Sherburne County for the past 16 years. First worked in the Sheriff's Office, but the majority of my time has been in Health and Human Services, first as a home visitor in home visiting, and in the past nearly 7 years as the Program Manager. I'll let Leah introduce herself.
I'm Leah Kreutzer. I'm the Regional Family Home Visiting Data and Analytics Manager, and I've been in this role since the inception about 7 years ago.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us come this morning, and we're going to share a bit of highlights about our programming and our First Steps regional work. So just to set that stage a little bit, First Steps Central Minnesota, the counties that are involved in that are Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, and Wright County. We began working together as a collaborative in 2019 after receiving grant funds to expand our evidence-based programming. Home visiting has been around many, many years before that, but we really worked individually at that time. And having that grant really allowed us to work together and to really positively impact more families in our region, to be able to advance more health outcomes. And I would argue that we have been the catalyst to create statewide innovations and impact. So before we start with our data and program highlights, I always like to set the stage about the benefits that home visiting can have, not only in families, but also our communities. To help connect those dots, we first talk about adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. With that, okay, that's good, thank you. So ACEs, again, stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. These events can occur within a household, the community, and the environment. The examples are listed on here. I know they're a bit small, but just to name a few of what those ACEs are, it could include abuse, neglect, any kind of household challenges such as substance misuse, mental illness, divorce or separation, domestic violence or incarceration, bullying, community violence, any natural disasters a family might experience, any kind of refugee or wartime experience, or witnessing or experiencing acts of terrorism. So in the original ACE study, people were given an ACE score of 0 to 10. 10 and is really based on the type of trauma that they may have experienced in their childhood. Each of those types of trauma counts as one experience, and no matter how many times it occurred in their childhood. When those experiences are left untreated, the toxic stress from ACEs harms children and families, as well as organizations, systems, and our communities. That toxic stress can reduce the ability for that individual or an entity to respond to stressful events with resiliency, and it can impact our lifelong experiences and health. So how do we learn so much about ACEs? It really goes back to that original ACE study from 1995. That study had over 17,000 participants, and just to give a background about who participated in that study, they were mostly white, middle, and upper middle class individuals. They were college educated, who all had stable jobs and access to quality health care They're all members of the Kaiser Permanente organization. So there were some key discoveries from that ACE study. So to name some of those, so that ACEs are common. Nearly 2/3 or 64% of adults from that study had at least one ACE, so one adverse childhood experience in their childhood. It also showed that ACEs don't occur alone. If you have one ACE, there's an 87% chance that you have two or more. ACEs can cause adult onset of chronic disease such as cancer and heart disease, as well as mental illness, violence, and being victims of violence. As the number of ACEs increase, so does the risk for those negative health outcomes. For example, people with an ACE score of 4 are twice as likely to be smokers, 7 times more likely to be an alcoholic, and it also increases the risk of emphysema and chronic bronchitis by nearly 400%. People with ACE or high ACE scores are more likely to be violent or experience violence. They have a higher rate of depression and autoimmune diseases. People with an ACE score of 6 or higher are at risk for their lifespan being shortened by 20 years. So those childhood adversities contribute to most of our chronic health, mental health, economic, and social health issues. They can be linked back to the majority of workplace absenteeism and for the costs of healthcare, emergency response, mental health, and criminal justice. So and lastly, on that population level, it doesn't matter within which ACE a person has, that harmful consequences are the same. The brain cannot distinguish between one type of toxic stress from another, and they can all have that same lifelong impact. See if this goes. Thought I did it before. Sorry, thank you. So before I paint you a heart of a picture, all hope is not lost. Thankfully, research has shown that there are many ways to reduce and heal from ACE toxic stress, build our health, and grow our caring communities. This is where protective factors come in. Protective factors are characteristics at the biological, psychological, family, community, and cultural level that are associated with lower likelihood of those negative outcomes I shared about in those previous slides. In this visual, the rain represents risk factors, or ACEs, while the umbrella represents protective factors. While the children may still have wet feet, they are mostly shielded from the rain thanks to those umbrellas. Similarly, those who experienced ACEs, but also have those protective factors and have learned to manage and adapt to life challenges, are buffered from some of the negative effects of the ACEs, and this can positively impact their lifelong health. Our goal in family home visiting is to build those protective factors early in life because we know 90% of brain development happens before the age of 5. Parents are a child's first teacher, and support to parents can have a big impact and set the stage for that child's entire life. We move upstream to prevent ACEs, and this is what public health does. So with that, so a little bit more about our First Steps region. First Steps Central Minnesota is that family home visiting program across our Central Minnesota region. In our 4-county region, we serve pregnant people and families with young children. Typically, those services begin prenatally or soon after birth and then continue through the early years of a child's life. Our 4 counties particularly focus prenatal to age 5. Family home visiting is always voluntary and provided at no cost to enrolled families, and third-party reimbursement from healthcare plans and federal and state grants help sustain the program. All families have needs, and we're fortunate to be able to offer home visiting to all or any pregnant and new parents in Central Minnesota. Family home visiting promotes health for all by providing critical supports to families from a wide range of racial, ethnic, economic, and social backgrounds. Some of the most common risk factors we see for enrolled families include financial, housing, or food instability, mental health concerns, substance use, intimate partner violence, limited supports, language barriers, or limited transportation. This, of course, is not an all-inclusive list or eligibility guidelines, just some of those most common barriers we see for the families we serve. Our nurses meet families where they're at. They build their parenting knowledge and relationship with their child and connect families to resources in the community. They're a trusted and reliable support for families, and this builds those protective factors for families.
Madam Chairwoman, I had a question. On this slide, shouldn't it say pregnant women? Because, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the woods here, but you say people, it should say women. Pregnant women.
Yep, a lot of the language we really pull from kind of the more inclusive language from the state level to be able to include all individuals, regardless of gender.
Because women are the only ones that can get pregnant.
The biological sex, yep.
Okay.
So throughout home visiting, data is collected and drives the advancement of the program. Certain outcomes for families are measurable and proven effective. Family home visiting has positive short and long-term impacts on both the family unit, the parent, and the child, including positive pregnancy outcomes, improved school readiness and literacy, child abuse prevention, and greater family self-sufficiency, to name a few.
So in addition to those outcome data, one of the ways we measure impact with our families is through an annual family feedback survey. On the screen and over our next few slides, we see a snapshot of our report from this past year. So this is just some of the logistics of the survey. Our nurses offer it to all the families that they're serving on their caseload, both our short-term and long-term programming, and they offer it over a 2-month window a few times. So we were able to gather 40% response rate, which is 147 received surveys this year. The next slide. Thank you. Of those surveyed, we saw that 61% were working with their home visitor over 6 months, and 98% of them were likely to recommend the program to other families, with 91% of those highly likely to recommend to other families. Did it work? Oh, it did work. Or it didn't. Or you worked it. Excuse me. So this slide talks about a handful of questions that we ask the families on how they feel about their visits, their time with their nurse, if they feel respected, if they have enough time, really getting that feedback into our program. We review this with our teams as we develop over the year our continuous improvement to our program. One particular highlight here is that 97% reported feeling confident that they could do a good job raising their children after participating in home visiting. We also ask about that impact, and so the areas of life that they feel have improved since participating in home visiting. On average, families identify 4 areas of life, and from that list in the chart, with one individual identifying only 1 or more areas. 99% identifying 1 or more areas. The top percent of 3/4 of the respondents improving upon their understanding child development and parenting, followed by over half with ability to read their child's cues, ability to solve problems, more patience, support system improvement, and appreciation of their child. So in addition to these questions, we also gather feedback on suggested improvements and additional resources that would be helpful to support the families, and have open-ended questions for their experience with the program and with their nurse. We review this with our teams for, like I said, our continuous quality improvement over the year, and utilize what families are saying in our outreach and to encourage our nurses in their daily work. In the next slide is one of those quotes that from the open-ended section. While it was very hard to narrow down, I did want to share one from, for specifically one of our Sherburne nurses. This is an excellent program. I am so glad that this was available immediately after arriving home with my baby. I was so afraid of the unknown medical issues with my child, but the home visitor helped alleviate all those fears and made me a happy mom to take care of my baby. They were always reassuring. As we move through, this is an overview of our 2025, just a high level of what we did in this past year. There was over 5,500 births in our 4-county region. There was 943 referrals from 75 community partners. We served 688 families across the region through 5,207 home visits from our 26 home visitors. And in this past year, we had 148 families complete the short-term and long-term program. Short-term can look like a few visits for maybe working with a couple months, and then long-term is really that 2 to 3 year area. And as we drill down looking at Sherburne County specific, we had over 1,000 births this past year, which was no change from the previous year, but it is a 14% decrease in births since 2015. We utilize this with our work groups and our director teams as we plan in the next coming years. So we start with this and then we look into referrals. And that looked like Sherburne had 154 referrals, 16% of our total referral base for our collaborative, which is a slight decrease from the past year, but despite that, we'll see in the next slides that the caseloads weren't hindered by a decrease in referrals. So we had 154 referrals, like I said, with a slight decrease. Of our top 4 referral sources, we always look at those because we're always looking to work further and farther with our community partners. Our top 4 for Sherburne County were 21% with our county WIC, 16% with our HHS, and then from there we had 8% with HCMC Family Birthing Center and self-referral, which meant they were out in the community and found one of our postcards. So like I said, despite having lower referrals, we didn't see that as a hindrance to caseloads. We actually had a 9% increase in our caseloads, meaning more conversion of those referrals. We served, on average, 8 more families a month, and with those, 6 families on average were served cross-county. That's an important highlight of our collaborative, that we're able to have the nurse continue care even if they move across the road, which can occur in some of our areas that 3 counties come together in very transient living areas. And then on average, we were at a 96% capacity this past year. So I just wanted to make a note there that this expansion that we were able to increase from 2024 was made possible by a grant from MDH that gave us an increase to serve 10 more families a month over this next year. But with that, we will be capped to, we shouldn't expect to see any further growth because we're not going to have any further staff capacity if we don't have any further revenue coming in. And at this time, that's where MDH has capped us at.
So to bring it back home with our Beyond Our Home Visiting program, our nurses have been hard at work to develop additional opportunities for families to build those protective factors. So in Sherburne County in particular, we've partnered with Main Street Family Services to offer a weekly infant feeding support group, as well as a monthly activity called Fun with First Steps. Families are invited to stop in for a time for play, creation, and connection. And pictures here are from this past month's event, which was held at the Elk River Library. Fun with First Steps has recently expanded to the St. Cloud 1010 Community Outpost location each month. And there are plans developing for the peers in Benton and Wright County to expand partnerships with their own family resource centers and community outposts for the next year.
Question. Yes. In regards to what you're reporting on here, and I noticed that, the Main Street Family Resource Center in Elk River and then the 1010 building in St. Cloud, are you doing any kind of programs through the Family Resource Center out of Liberty Elementary?
At this time, I don't, Tammy, you can maybe speak to a little bit more of.
Looking to expand there. They weren't ready to have us yet, but yes, hopefully within this year.
Within this year?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
The last slide really was about our new promo video. I'm not sure how we're doing on time, if there's time in there. It is also linked if we don't have time. I guess I would leave it up to you.
Dan said they're running short on time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is linked in there and welcome you to view that. We worked with Dave Unzi for that and really proud of that. So that is.
How long is the video?
It's about 3 minutes.
You want to see it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Who brought the popcorn?
Well,
I thought
it'll
you
be
would.
3 minutes depending on how long.
Yes.
There is always that, yes.
While that's coming up, I did have a question. On the survey side, the language preference, it was primarily English, secondarily Spanish, and one French request. I'm assuming that was the preference for just taking the survey, is that correct?
For preference for also their materials too, and many of the evidence-based materials are offered in other languages, and then they would utilize the translation services if they need to utilize that for.
And do those percentages kind of follow along with our experience in the program overall for primary language preferences?
Yep, so we also offered in Somali, and that has gone up and down on how much we serve in that area or how much they utilize that.
Okay, thanks.
First Steps Family Home Visiting is a free and voluntary program where a nurse meets with you for home visits. We can meet with you in your home or in the community, wherever you're most comfortable. We offer education, support, and resources for pregnant, postpartum, and parenting families. We meet with families living in Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, and Wright County.
I love the resources that you were giving it to me as a new mom, to know the stages about the kids, what to do, what to expect. And beside that, I was looking forward to see it. The more you have a person to visit at home, there is a person who can listen to you the way you are listening to me. I had a question I can ask you. You are there to help. You are there to listen.
During pregnancy, our visits are centered around answering questions that may come up for you between doctor visits. We can also offer information and support with the child's feedings, whether that be breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or solid foods. We have a scale that we bring to visits to weigh baby, which many parents enjoy. As your child grows, our visits become centered around ways to promote growth and development for your child at different ages. We're here to make sure your questions get answered, to provide resources if needed, and to be a support for you and your family.
But I would recommend 100% they should use these resources. It's very important and helpful. Having a person to come and talk to you and be there for you as a family, it's really important. The only thing I can say is 2 years is not very enough.
We have a handful of friends that are having kids, and we've already recommended it to them. So
Yeah, when they heard we had an in-home nurse, they thought that was a really nice
option.
We have a great website that makes it easy to refer yourself or be referred by someone else. The website is called First Steps Central Minnesota. Once you are on the homepage, you will click the Make a Referral tab at the top and complete the form. You can also call our intake number and a nurse would be happy to talk with you. We look forward to partnering with you in your parenting journey.
I'd say the mother of twins is probably very happy when you guys come. Yes.
I just want to make one comment. This is just one of those programs that kind of flies under the radar that I don't think, as board members for public health, this isn't instant gratification. This is something that the littles will develop into better, and families as adults, and work better. That'll cost us less in the long run for public assistance and things of that nature. So it's not instant gratification. This is a long-term thing that, from infants that are born now, 18 years away, maybe 20 before we see the results of this program. And I think it's tremendous. And I just, on that committee, it's pretty much gender specific, but I am the only male on the committee. So, and you learn a lot every time you go there.
Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a follow-up comment.
Mr. Schumacher.
As Health and Human Services ganders into the future, and we have these little kids like this, and their parents aren't vaccinating them, they're not going through like the same steps in the process. You're making it harder and more difficult on your guys' self by not saying there are just two genders. There is a man and a woman, and only women can get pregnant. And so when I say that, there's people just like myself that just get turned off by great content and everything, all the hard work you guys are doing, because you won't stand up and say, women are the only people that can get pregnant on the planet. That's it. And you can have a family that isn't two women or two men, but if you keep pushing that same narrative, you're going to end up in the same thing, and you're going to have people that reduce their amount of vaccinating their kids, and that will affect us later because they will be more susceptible to health problems and crises in the future. And so that's why I bring it up. Take off people. Put that there. I'm not voting for that. Thanks for, that's all. I'm just irritated. Now I'm irritated.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Amanda? I did have one real quick question. My oldest is 48. And I do remember back when I first brought him home, there was a nurse that came and visited, probably a couple of weeks or so into being home. Is that somewhat the same thing, or is that, I mean, do you work with the hospitals that?
Great question. So there are kind of two supports that typically are out for families postpartum. So after delivery and transitioning home, we've seen a lot of our healthcare agencies offer home health services. Often those are a one-time visit or are very, I guess, clinically specific, where they're doing bilirubin blood checks in the home. That's probably the most common one we see for them, or offer those bililates in the home. We're actually seeing, ever since, I'd say in the last 6 years, a lot of those home care services are ending. In fact, Alina is ending theirs at the end of this month. And that's going to impact our region. And one of the pieces that we've been able to fill those gaps, for example, in St. Cloud Hospital, all of the families that are discharged from their NICU that used to be referred to their home care program are now referred to us. And so that's where some of that short-term support comes in. Sometimes it's just a phone call. Other times it's a 1 or 2 time visit out to the home to support that lactation transition, supporting the family with weight checks or blood pressure checks, and often turns into more long-term. As soon as we get that foot in the door, they often want that ongoing support or need that. So we're seeing that shift, and so we try to work with our partners in the hospitals, but even further ahead of that in our prenatal clinics. That has been a huge challenge for us, just to be able to partner and see that link back to when those birth outcomes are better, those health outcomes are better, we're all going to do better, and so trying to make that link back to them.
Okay, Commissioner Hulls.
Yeah, just one question. So, and not that this would replace, because I think the actual in-person, in-home visits are invaluable, but is there any movement toward also supplementing with telemedicine visits? And just from my perspective would be, you might have a client base that doesn't necessarily need the in-person visits, but could glean some value out of an occasional telemedicine visit, which would be a force multiplier for us. Is there any talk of that at all?
We actually do offer both in-person or virtual telehealth type of visits. It's really dependent on the family's needs. We really saw an increase in that during COVID when we just weren't out in the homes, and now we have a lot of that flexibility, that same coverage as far as the billing aspects of it, to be able to offer what meets that family's needs.
Okay.
Yep.
And you do offer, not just prenatal and at birth, but, 1 and 2 and 3-year-olds, if they make a referral for that age, you do go out and see them at that time too, right?
Yes, correct. Our messaging is really prenatal through age 5. Primarily, we do serve prenatal through those early, I'd say 2 years, but we always welcome referral, and it might not be our programming that will continue with a family, but the way our nurses are well connected within the community to refer them out to ECFE programming, our family resource centers, other programming like that has been really beneficial.
Thank you.
Yep. It is a shame to see that some of the health organizations where children normally are birthed kind of dropping off. That's kind of, but hopefully we can engage better with them to make that connection and work more with the hospitals as well. Because I did find, even though it was a long time ago, I did find that just someone touching base. And if there was going to be any issues, you would probably see them by then, and then you can get them, you know, the help that they might be needing. All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you for
Thank
the
you,
update.
appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
And the last slide was just upcoming. So I think we have the SUP Coalition coming up. We have a SHAC meeting. And so just want to STIR meeting. So if any of those, if your name's on those or any of those interest you, there's those dates, and we have nothing else.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
thank you very much. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's nothing then more to come before us. I would be looking to adjourn our Community Health Board meeting and reconvene our regular meeting. All right. Gotta get back to my. All right, at this time then, we'd be looking to do our commissioner correspondence. And, yep, I will. Commissioner Schumacher, what do you have for us?
Well, the top two items, the AMC conference, and then I did, during the AMC conference, attend the Health and Human Services conversation panel, where they had discussed with the new Commissioner Gagne of Health and Human Services. Nice lady. I want to just say nice lady. And AMC, yep, yep. And she got pitched not softball questions, but she got pitched cotton ball questions. She tap danced to an Oscar around the fraud that's happening within the state of Minnesota. And I can't tell you that that's going to stop because, frankly, she couldn't admit the problems that were going on with Health and Human Services. So that's our new commissioner, and that's who we have through the end of this administration. I'll fast forward to the committee hearing that she went to after she attended the AMC conference. And I asked a really good question that didn't get asked because it was a softball question, but they were only taking cotton ball questions for her. But she had said in the hearing that she left, our meeting went in front of the Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Committee. And so she had a employee A, pay a $400,000 grant to a nonprofit. This was just in her role as the commissioner. Employee A paid the $400,000 grant to the nonprofit, and employee A quit their job within the same payroll period that they paid a $400,000 grant to the nonprofit to go work for them. And so the fraud is still happening within Governor Walz's administration and under the watchful eye of Ms. Gagne. And this was just brought up. And so then it fast forwards just to totally take it in. I'm like, oh, this all can't be true, right? Because it's kind of the Stockholm syndrome that we're experiencing in Minnesota. And then we have Honorable Senator John Hoffman underneath Governor Walz's announcement that he is going to now take roll back from the counties and he's going to do some state management. And the Honorable Democratic Senator John Hoffman said, well, it's funny you didn't bring it up to me and you didn't have a single conversation with the senator who leads Health and Human Services for the state of Minnesota. And so I recognize that, you know, some of the things that we're doing at NACO and AMC aren't necessarily being effective, but I will say this, I love Minnesota and I love this state and I love this county, and I'm tired, if we don't go to this, I'm tired of letting Minneapolis and St. Paul dictate how our state is. They can't be the only voices in the room. I'll go there, I'll continue to advocate and fight for it because frankly, the truth is Minneapolis and St. Paul are a disaster and they're gonna continue to be a disaster under Governor Walz. And if we're not in the room, they're gonna be the only voices. And that's not fair for everybody else who lives in this great state and who calls this place home. I'm proud to get up every day and be from Sherburne County and be from Minnesota. And that's why I'm going to continue to go to the AMC, continue to fight to go to NACO, because the voices of everybody of our neighbors need to be heard. And they cannot be drowned out by the crazy chaos of the governor. And again, I want to say, Ms. Gagne, nice lady. And Senator John Hoffman, nice guy. But that can't be the only voice in the room. And so those are my top two meetings. I did a lot of other things, but I just want to give you those two things there. And congratulations to whoever the employees who ran off with $400,000 of the state of Minnesota's money to get their new job at a nonprofit.
Yep, I think it's important we just keep on making our voices be heard.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's it, that's all?
That's all.
Thank you for those comments. All right, Commissioner Felber, what do you have?
So yeah, AMC conference was the first thing. I think that our lobby day at the Capitol was fairly well received, but the fact is that there's just chaos over there. You know, the Senate spent the whole week, this last week, passing bills and making a big deal out of bills that have already been defeated in the House. But that's what they were doing instead of doing actual work. So I'm not super encouraged by what's happening over there. The Public Safety Committee, probably the biggest thing out of that, once again, talking about kind of going on the same theme here. The DOC did a study in 2024. They sent a questionnaire out to all 87 counties, the board chairs, to talk about jails. What they got back was 14 responses from 9 counties. And based on these 14 responses from 9 counties, they wrote a couple hundred pages of report material detailing what we should be doing with jails in the first. Not only is that just absurdly incomplete information to base any sort of a study on, that was just like a giant waste of public funding at this point in time. And so what we actually achieved at the public safety and the discussion of this is that they got to do this again, and they have to do it more, they have to be specific so that they talk to the people who actually run the jails this next time. You know, still going to be doing some follow-up on some issues that I talked to people over there about, including waste to energy, not surprising, and some HHS stuff. Then I did the ETAC Executive Committee. One thing that's going to become, that we talked about there is that the building resilient, basically there was a thing that NACO used to do that was meetings for counties in energy transition. The Just Transition Fund is going to try to take up the gap for that, because that was canceled. The funding for that ended under the new administration. Went to the ORAC annual meeting. I went to the MESB, Metropolitan Emergency Services Board meeting. I sat in on that. Sat on the MICA meeting. And most of this stuff has been legislative updates, and the legislative updates remain relatively the same. Not a lot going on. Not a lot of effective law going on. Sat in on the CMRP. I went to the Big Lake Expo. CMRP, we're just kind of treading water there, and you're going to cover that more later. And then the actual number of police shot the last couple of weeks has gone down some. And one other thing that I'm working on is that I sat and went through all of the, when these new flags, the new state flags came out, the information I had at the time was that we were legally required to fly them. I spent the weekend going through these statutes back and forth, and I can't find a statute that says we have to, so that may be a conversation that the board will want to entertain. We're still trying to make sure that that's 100%, not in the statutes, and if we want to take a look at that down the line in terms of the flags, because it's a big thing that constituents keep bringing to me, is the controversy over this flag. So that may be something we want to address in the future. That's all I got right now.
Thanks. Commissioner Halls.
Just for me, so my 2 meeting highlights were EDA, economic development, and which I'm sure you'll comment on as well. But so the that organization is moving ahead nicely. I believe we've started with our marketing campaign to try to advertise, to bring in business from outside of Sherburne County, into Sherburne County, based on some of the frustrations that other businesses are seeing in other areas, such as Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's no big surprise. So we're continuing down that path. I think I'm very pleased with the progress that the ED is making. Now, when the rubber hits the road is when we actually get more businesses in the area. But this is a long-term project, and I'm very pleased with the direction that we're going. Second piece was community corrections. So I was at the Community Corrections Board again this month. Once again, some very good information and very good progress, given some very challenging situations with community corrections. So I'm pleased with how all that is going. I realize it does seem like may to some people seem like a minor thing. I would like to understand what the statute is, what the requirements are around the flags. My understanding is that it has to be flown at the state capitol, and it has to be flown within close proximity to a bench within within the courtrooms. That's my, and so I would just, and the reason I bring it up is because Elk River is currently pursuing a study on what they should be flying in the city of Elk River. So I'm just curious about what the actual requirements are. But other than that, I think the biggest thing that we continue to work on, I've had a number of discussions with our representatives, both at the federal level and at the state level. I think it's important. I know people get tired of hearing about the fraud issue, but I think it's important that we continue to beat the drum on this issue, and not just from the fact that, you know, that it took place, but also the systemic failures of the IT systems that allow that to happen. When you've got IT systems that were built in the early 90s, it's almost impossible for people that are trying to do good work to be able to use those systems effectively. And so, while that's not the only, you know, a systems change is not the only solution for that, there still has to be other aspects to it. I think it's vitally important that we continue to drive through AMC to reform that, because the numbers are staggering. You know, $9 billion worth of potential fraud, and it may be much higher than that. And how much impact that had on the funding of the counties. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. And
It was a nickel.
Nickel worth.
And to those comments, it's somewhat frustrating to hear that there's a possibility that there really isn't going to be much that's going to happen to advance the technology improvements that are so needed. And that's very frustrating to hear. Hopefully that'll change. Hopefully they'll actually do something to get us working on that path. But could not agree more. It's got to start with IT along with other things that need to be reined in. All right, Commissioner Gray.
I'm not going to talk long on it. The AMC conference, we all were at that. I have 5 townships that I hit. I was able to hit all 5 of them for their annual meeting. At least visit them, not actually for their meetings, but I was able to get there. I did the Zoom, the MICA by Zoom. The one thing I want to talk about is the NACO Rural Energy Academy that they're starting. That's going to be kind of a clearinghouse for subject matter experts on solar, nuclear, data centers, battery storage, that we as commissioners can use as a resource when those proposals are brought to us. I thought that was a kind of an interesting topic. I went to the Highway 25 and 10 open house, the SHAC meeting, had a very lengthy discussion on cannabis, which I forward all of the information to the people in our staff at the county that needed to see that. Otherwise, the Xcel Energy stakeholder meeting, and the other one I want to touch about, yesterday, Monday, I met with Brian Lawrence and the Soil and Water Conservation District. He stopped in for legislative visit. Brian was gracious enough to do that, and I just want to say that the Soil and Water Conservation staff, they are basically our subject matter experts on all the things they do. And I want to say a shout out to the board and the administration level. You've got two members of that board are from the farming community. One's from the Stearns County, works for the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. You have an individual who's an environmentalist company that's there, and you have another one that works for the DNR. So not only are the staff good, but the board is very knowledgeable in what they do, and Brian was very receptive to everything that they talked about in the shortfalls, because what soil and water conservations do mostly across the state, it affects everybody. It's an environmental issue, you know? I mean, that's what they're trying to do, from agriculture to wetlands to farming to trees. They're trying to make it all happen for people to do what's right for the environment, and I think our Soil and Water Conservation District needs a big shout out for what they do, because I think for the dollar, they probably get the most bang for their buck. I think the county gives them about $375,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, and their budget's $1 million. So they're working off of $600,000-700,000 in grants money that they're all getting. So for what they do, they're well worth the investment. So that's my 2 cents, or nickel, dime. Mine's a dime. I'll call it that.
Yeah. And plus, they're also there to help all of our cities and townships and
Yep.
and the watershed districts, plus the residents of Sherburne County with any questions they might have. They're a valuable, valuable resource.
Right.
Yep. All right. Anything further?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, my update is I do want to say that once a month we work to get together as commissioners and have a lunch. There's nothing that's discussed in regards to a vote or anything. It's just the ability to get together, converse, talk about family, get to know, keep in touch with each other in regards to our ability, because we can't talk to each other about any items that we're looking at having to make decisions on and stuff. So we work to try to keep a connection going outside of that process. So I do appreciate that. Attended the AMC Legislative Conference that everybody has talked about to date. I attended, besides going to the Hill and meeting with all our representatives, advocating for things that AMC, we did work really hard to hit the topic of getting our processes updated through the technology that the state is using that does tie our hands to be able to do a really good job in providing those support needs. And we also had a really good conversation about some of the things that we were looking at wanting to promote just for Sherburne County as well. It was received receptively, so that was nice. Also, I attended the Transportation Committee meeting and got a few updates from MnDOT. One of the things, though, that is somewhat, in 2023, the legislature passed some updates or some improvements to some of the monies that are raised for helping offset the cost of our road infrastructure needs. And so that sounds like there is some talk about maybe rolling some of those back. So we'll have to see how that all plays out in the session. Also then attended the agenda review, attended the Big Lake Township meeting. That evening we had Mitch and Craig. They came to the meeting to discuss. The board had quite a few questions in regards to the soil separation for subdivided residential properties, minimum lot size, and 75% wooded requirements that are being proposed by, we're looking at, some of the things we can change in our ordinance amendments. And so they had a really good conversation on answering those questions for the township board. Then also attended the CMRP meeting that Commissioner Felber had referenced. And that agenda was basically, we did a recap on where we are at in the process of doing a new river crossing selection. And it is frustrating, I have to say, that there's a timeline that is attached to this that does take time to go through the federal and state processes, impel studies, environmental studies, and you have to do that if you have any chance on getting federal funding. And without federal funding, the cost of a bridge is huge. I always say, I wish that back when there was the discussion happening about 25 or so years ago, and when it hit a wall in regards to the alignment selection at that time, they just dropped it and walked away. I wish they would have regrouped and went back to the drawing board and basically continued to figure it out. Because by dropping that and the time that we lost to make any advancement, it was like they thought it was just going to solve itself. So it is going to take some time. So we are working diligently on getting that process met. And then today, after this meeting, I'll be heading over to Monticello for the joint chamber board meeting between Becker, Big Lake, and Monticello, and there will be updates to a lot of the road construction projects that are going to be happening here in the next couple of years, along with where we're at on the bridge project. So that was that, and then I attended the LAC meeting. That is really just, it's such a good group of people that come together to work really hard to meet the needs of our special needs residents in the county and stuff. I just wanted to point out that May 12th, there's going to be Sherburne County Adult Mental Health Local Advisory Meet and Greet from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Elk River Furniture and Things Event Center. So if you can, please stop by there and just, there's lots of good information, lots of booths and stuff to provide information for needs in the county. And then I did also want to say a virtual, let's see, happy birthday to Peach, our therapy dog. He will be turning a year old in April. So how cool is that? Peaches, hopefully we can get him in here for a little happy birthday recognition. I know it's been a while since we've seen her. I think that would be something maybe we can work on. And I think, is that it for me then? Also attended to quite a few constituent calls and emails. And then I also wanted to piggyback on what Bruce said in regards to thanking Tanner and all of our plow drivers for all of their hard work and their dedication to making sure our roads were safe through the snowstorm that we had over the weekend and all of the hours they put into that. I'd have to say our county roads, to me, were in excellent condition after, in a really timely fashion. All right, I think that's it for my updates. And so at this time then, if
Madam
there's,
Chair, if I
yes.
could add, I also forgot to add that I did attend the 25 and 10 thing, and I also forgot to say congratulations to Representative Novotny for making the decision to actually retire. It's such a,
Think he'll get it right this time?
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna miss his work at the state capitol. He does a great job, but I think at a certain point, you have to leave public service, so.
Congratulations on, they're going to become grandparents.
Yes.
Here this year, so that is an awesome, awesome thing.
Much better job.
Yes, much better job. I can attest to that. So can Commissioner Gray.
Great.
All right. Okay, and nothing else to come before us? If not, at this time, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hull, seconded by Commissioner Felver. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, so we will